Hello everyone, Nate the R here, and today in honor of Rivalry Week in college football, I'm going to discuss the most notable upset games in Rivalry Week in college football. These upsets killed the hopes and dreams of the loser of those games, who are usually in the bid for a national championship game or New Year's Six Bowl. So anyways, let's get started. The first upset I'm going to talk about today is West Virginia versus Pittsburgh, 2007, otherwise known as the Backyard Brawl. Coming into the game, Pittsburgh was a 20.5 point underdog to the then number 2 West Virginia Mountaineers. West Virginia up to that point had an explosive offense that was led by the star quarterback Pat White. If West Virginia was able to take care of business against their arch-rival Pittsburgh Panthers, they would punch their ticket to the national championship game. Unfortunately for West Virginia, that's how it will not go. Pittsburgh, being 4-7 at the time, have nothing to lose and ought to gain by crushing their arch rivals' dreams of a national championship. The game was a low-scoring affair. With Pittsburgh winning 13-9. The game went south for West Virginia when their star QB, Pat White, got injured in the second quarter because of dislocated thumb, and he didn't return for the rest of the game. Also, the kicker, Pat McAfee. Yes, that Pat McAfee. I am not kidding. Missed two field goals, and their offense failed to convert twice on fourth down. This game also had massive ripple effects for the rest of 2007 season. Since that year was like real chaotic. LSU, despite having 2 losses, still found themselves in the national championship game instead of West Virginia. And Rich Rod, after the game, left for Michigan before the Fiesta Bowl. At least West Virginia beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl, which is nice to see because hook 'em. Funny seeing Oklahoma lose these big. Had West Virginia beat Pittsburgh, like everyone expected at the time, they would be in the national championship game, and Rich Rod wouldn't have left the program so soon. He probably would have left afterwards, but hey, what ifs? What ifs exist for a reason. So yeah, that game left big implications for how the rest of the 2000 season went, and a coaching hire from Michigan too. The next game I want to talk about is Louisville versus Kentucky back in 2016. Coming into the game, Louisville's national championship hope was dead after a brutal loss to Houston on a Thursday night game the week before the Governor's Cup against Kentucky. That game against Houston was never close, as Houston just absolutely crushed Louisville from start to finish. Now with the national championship hopes gone, they could at least finish regular season strong by beating their arch rivals, the Kentucky Wildcats. Louisville, led by their future Heisman winner quarterback Lamar Jackson, were ready to do just that. Kentucky, after punching their ticket to bowl eligibility, after beating Austin Peay, were ready to get an upset win over their number 11 ranked Louisville Cardinals. The game was a shootout between the two teams, but ultimately the game came down to a Lamar Jackson fumble deep in Kentucky territory, and the game was tied with 1 minute and 45 seconds left. After that, Kentucky recovered the football and drove down the field to eventually win it with a field goal, sealing the win for Kentucky 41-38. The next game I want to talk about is number 8 Florida State versus Florida in 2004. Coming into the game, number 8 Florida State was preparing to play an unranked Florida team. At this point in 2004, Florida hadn't beaten Florida State in Tallahassee since 1986, which is about 18 years ago. That was the last time they beat the Seminoles in Tallahassee. Florida, and their quarterback, they led Florida to an upset win in Tallahassee 20-13. Spoiling the dedication ceremony of the field for Bobby Bowden. So they basically just ruined Bobby Bowden tonight. But hey, those were rivalry games before. And also Ron Zook, he was like the coach before they hired Urban Meyer. I just want to point that out. The next notable game I will be talking about is Ohio State versus number 7 Michigan. In 2004, Ohio State and Michigan, otherwise known as the game, have many famous moments all throughout their rivalry's history. From the 10-year war between legendary head coaches Woody Hayes and Bo Schemahide, please understand, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, to the game of the century in 2006 between number 1 Ohio State and number 2 Michigan, decided in the national championship game. The famous rivalry has a bunch of crazy moments. For this one, number 7 Michigan was traveling down to Columbus to face the then unranked Ohio State Buckeyes. It's crazy seeing Ohio State being unranked, because it never really happens. But hey, moving on. Michigan was heavily favored against the Buckeyes. It was not hard to see why, because up to that point, Michigan had only one loss against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, while Ohio State was 6-4. But as they say, anything can happen in rivalry games, and records don't matter. Ohio State proved just that on that day when they defeated the arch-rival Wolverines 37-21, led by quarterback Troy Smith and freshman receiver Ted Glenn Jr. That's how you pronounce it. As a result to the loss of the Buckeyes, Michigan was forced to split its Big Ten championship with Iowa. They would soon be defeated by the Longhorns 38-37 in the Rose Bowl, with the Longhorns kicking it to win the game, while Ohio State blew the wheels out of Oklahoma State in the Alamo Bowl 33-7. The next one up is number 1 LSU versus Arkansas back in 2007. Heading back to the 2007 season, number 1 LSU matched up against unranked Arkansas in the final week of the season. If LSU was just able to beat Arkansas and win their conference championship game the next week, they would punch their ticket to the national championship game. Of course, because it was a 2007 season, chaos was just bound to happen, as Arkansas and LSU fought back and forth throughout the entire game. It even took 3 overtimes to decide the winner. After a grueling battle, Arkansas would come out on top 50-48. Darren McFadden had a strong performance against the Tigers as a Heisman runner-up rushed for 206 yards and scored 3 touchdowns against LSU's defense. Arkansas also used the Wild Hog formation, which was basically Arkansas's version of the Wildcat formation, with its key player being McFadden, which he was a triple option to run, hand off, or throw. Yeah, he was basically the X factor of that offense that year. Afterwards, it seemed like LSU's national championship hopes were dead since up to that point. No two-loss team has made it to the national championship game before in all of the history of college football. But, because of all the chaos around them, like Pittsburgh beating West Virginia, which I mentioned before, Missouri beating Kansas, and then Missouri losing to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game, and LSU beating Tennessee in the Southeastern Conference championship game that year, LSU was able to make it to the national championship game, and they beat Ohio State 38-24 to become the first two-loss team to win a national championship game. That was absolutely crazy. We might even have even 3-loss team win the national championship this year, just because of how this year is going. Next up, we got number 7 Georgia Tech versus Georgia in 2009. The Georgia versus Georgia Tech game, otherwise known as Queen Old Fashioned Hate, is the annual arch rivalry game between the two Georgia schools. Georgia has dominated the series as of late, as Georgia Tech has only beaten Georgia 4 times since 2000. 2009 was no different as Georgia pulled off the upset against their arch rival, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, 30-24. Georgia outrushed Georgia Tech 349-209 and dominated time of possessions, which were both Georgia Tech's strengths. Both Washawn Esway and Caleb King both had breakout performances. They both ran for 183 and 166 yards respectively, both career high for them. Georgia Tech had the chance to take the lead late in the game, but Dwayne Thomas dropped a pass on 4th down, which would have given Georgia Tech a first down if he would have kept the catch, ultimately securing Georgia's 30-24 victory over their arch rivals, the Yellow Jackets. Another one I want to talk about is Number 13 Missouri versus Kansas in 2008. The Border War is a rivalry between Kansas and Missouri that was played annually during their time in the Big 8 and eventually Big 12, until Missouri moved to the Southeastern Conference in 2011, causing the rivalry to be, I don't know what the word is, defunct? It's just on hold. It's on hold because next year it'll come back. Thank God. But anyways, coming into this Border War showdown, Kansas was seeking revenge after Mizzou killed their national championship hopes in last year's matchup. Kansas will strike first, taking advantage of an early Darryl Stuckey interception, and Darryl Stuckey's forced fumble on the Chase Daniel run. However, Missouri battled back in the second half and even led way in the game with a Derek Washington touchdown. Kansas marched down the field, scoring when Todd Racing eluded defensive pressure and lofted a pass to Kerry Muir as Muir ran across the goal line. With Kansas retaking the lead, Missouri had to act quickly in order to take it overtime, as they quickly advanced down the field, gained into field goal range, and kicked the field goal. But unfortunately for Missouri, Kansas would block that kick, preserving the victory for the Jayhawks. The next one I want to talk about is number 19 Ole Miss versus number 4 Mississippi State, 2014. Ole Miss versus Mississippi State, otherwise known as the Egg Bowl, is the annual arch rivalry game between the two Mississippi schools. Mississippi State isn't really a historically good program. The last time they won the SEC West was all the way back in 1998, which was a long time ago. But that year in 2014 wasn't the case. They were ranked number 4 in the country, and they had a clear path to the college football playoffs. They first had to beat Ole Miss, and then they had to hope that Alabama would lose to Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and finally win the SEC championship game, and their ticket to the college football playoffs will be secured. Ole Miss, ranked number 19, had other plans, as they knocked off Mississippi State 31-17. Jalen Walton had a career-high game of 148 yards, which would include a 91-yard touchdown. However, because of violations within the Ole Miss program, they had to vacate the win along with every team they beat except for their win against Presbyterian. I don't know how to pronounce that school's name. The final game I want to talk about for today is number 8 Clemson versus South Carolina. Not just recently, in 2022, which is just 2 years ago. Entering the 2022 edition of the Palmetto Bowl, number 8 Clemson's playoff chances were still open despite their loss to Notre Dame. If they could just beat their arch rival, South Carolina, along with winning the ACC championship game the next week, they would be in the playoffs. However, just like in the last century, South Carolina had other plans. They had a bunch of momentum on their side too, after crushing number 5 Tennessee in their home the previous week. Also, at the time, South Carolina had beaten Clemson for almost a decade. Also, Clemson had a 40-game home winning streak, and they were 14-point favorites at home. That's because of Death Valley for Clemson. It's like one of the most intimidating places to play at. Like, it's never easy to get a win over there, since they have such a strong home field advantage. However, South Carolina was ready to change all of that. In the start, the Gamecocks were down 14-0 to Clemson. However, they finished strong, and because of a pair of Clemson fumbles, they beat Clemson 31-30 in a tight one, spoiling Clemson's playoff hopes, as South Carolina secured back-to-back top 10 wins for the first time in the school's history, as well as beating Clemson for the first time since 2013. So those are the rivalry game upsets that occurred on the final week of college football season, which is otherwise known as Rivalry Week. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to my channel, click on the bell icon to get notifications for every new video upload. Anyways, peace out guys, and have a good day.